Hey, this is Mike. I'm a videographer based in Ottawa, Canada, and here are my thoughts on the Canon R6. So for most of my video projects, I use the Canon C200. That's what I'm filming on right now, and that is my main camera. Now, in having a main camera, I always love to have a second camera for backup, for second shots, for two camera shoots, but I don't want to buy two C200s. This is too much. It's more than I need right now as a solo operator. So for me, the Canon R6 was the best option. Previously, I was using the Canon EOS R, which was a great camera, but it just didn't meet a lot of the requirements I needed as a second camera to the C200. A couple things that the EOS R6 fixed that the EOS R didn't have is 4K 60, 10-bit color, dual card slots, better autofocus, better low light performance because of the lower megapixel count. It's just a little bit more well-rounded than the EOS R. I found that when I was shooting in RAW on the C200, 12-bit color, trying to match that to the 8-bit color of the EOS R, it was just falling short. It wasn't, up to professional standards that the C200 is. So when the EOS R6 and the R5 came out, I knew that this was going to be a great second option for my video projects. Now, I also have projects where I do shoot photos, so I couldn't just buy a second video camera. I needed a second camera that could shoot photos as well. The reason I chose the R6 over the R5 is that the R5 is too much for me. It's more than what I need. I'm not gonna shoot 8K RAW. I don't need super high quality photos. I just need photos. So for that extra $2,000, extra different cards, like all these things, it just wasn't worth it for me. So that's why I chose this, the R6. I've been using this for 2 weeks and this camera has been great. It's done everything I possibly need to do, and I haven't even used my C200 for anything because I haven't had any big jobs because lockdown and whatnot, but real estate shoots, headshots, small in-studio videos for just content creation. This R6 has been amazing. It's been just, I love it. I can almost use it as my primary camera unless I'm doing something commercial or large where I need that 12-bit professional look and color. Big reason why I need this camera, or I like having a second camera, is I do a lot of just personal shoots and out in the world things where I don't want to haul around the C200. It's obvious, people see it, I can't be inconspicuous, I can't just get regular B-roll without getting interrupted or a question to why I'm shooting. This I can put in a small bag and keep with me everywhere. I can put a tiny lens on it and just have it. I can take photos, do fun stuff with it. It doesn't need to be professional all the time. So I love having the two camera setup because then I can have my professional work camera, then I can have a fun camera that can also serve as the second to my professional camera. So let's talk about a few things that make this camera the best second option in regards to upgrading from the R. So the R shot 4K, shot 4K 30, which is great, but it had a 1.6 times crop or 1.7 times crop, I can't remember exactly. And that was a big deal. Obviously you can just step back, you can make it a little better, but it was still 8-bit color and it was still crop. So this, I can shoot 4K 60 with a 1.1 times crop. That means I can shoot 4K for everything I do. That means when I do real estate shots and real estate videos at 16 mil, it's not gonna bring it down to a 24, which kind of eliminates the wide angle you need for doing these shoots. I was shooting in 1080 the whole time, which is fine, got the job done, but now I can shoot 4K and it just ups my production value, ups my deliverables to the client, which to me is game changing. It's great to have the same form factor, but be able to bring it up to a higher quality. Another big thing is the dual card slots. So you get two SD card slots inside of this one. Now, I did a bunch of weddings and I shot weddings with the EOS R and nothing ever went wrong, but one card slot is a gamble. If that card gets corrupted, if anything happens, you have no backup. And this is a day you can't repeat. You can't do a reshoot, you can't go back. So dual card slots in a camera is, to me, key for things like that. So that's a huge bonus. Plus I can carry two cards in here without swapping them. It's great. I have two 128 gig, 300 megabyte second V90 cards from ProGrade, and they're fantastic. It's so fast, even loading and unloading from the computer is a lot quicker. Another big thing that this has is stabilization. So the R didn't have it. It had a little bit digital, but it was unnoticeable and it didn't really do well. And it's okay for video, you do get a little bit of those wobbles, but the big thing for me is when you're taking photos. So when you're running around grabbing photos, going nuts, you can get away with a little more because you have that stabilization. If you're literally running and gunning, you're gonna get more usable shots than you would have with the R, which is, in terms of weddings, amazing. Because you're flying through, getting everything, you'll get more out of the camera. You don't get a display screen on top of this, you get a dial, which to be honest is not a big deal. The only thing I wish is that it wasn't so far to go from manual to video. As a hybrid shooter, I only use manual and I only use video, and they're on opposite ends of the dial. Another big thing about this camera, and even this camera compared to the C200, is the 120 frames per second. So 120 frames per second on the C200 isn't great. It's soft, it doesn't really focus that well. I never use it. Now, in the slow-mo on the EOS R was only at 720p. So again, it was soft. It just didn't reach that professional quality that you'd hope for in either of these cameras. So now this will shoot 120 frames per second in 1080, but the image quality is great and you still get the 10-bit color. So I've done a few tests with that and it's been great. I haven't used 120 frames per second since I had a Sony camera, so it's been years since I've been able to use this slow-mo. I haven't had a need for it because I've been adapted to not using it, but now that I have it, I will 100% use it again. You can check my Instagram channel for the latest one that I did with the 120 frames per second testing. One of the major reasons I chose the R6 over the R5 as well is the codecs, the file sizes. The R5 file sizes in codec is difficult to work with. It's a large codec and most computers can't handle it. I like having the codec from this just with SD cards because it's less storage, it's faster to edit, and if a client needs a fast turnaround time and I don't need to do a 12-bit color commercial grade project, I'll grab this all day. I can shoot and edit all in the same day because it's so quick. I don't need to process anything, I don't need to wait for it to load, it just loads and you're done. Another great point for this camera as opposed to the EOS R is the 10-bit color. I shoot 4K 60 on the C200 90% of the time, and that produces a 10-bit color space. So if I have 10-bit and 10-bit, the color sign should be very easy to match. I've done a few tests and it actually is quite easy, and you obviously, if you look really hard, you'll notice the difference in colors and quality, but to the untrained eye, to 99% of the people, you won't notice at all. It'll look like I'm using two C200s. And that's a huge selling point for me. Having a hybrid camera that I can keep in my bag with my C200 as a second cam and be reliable, it's just nice to have something that I can use on professional shoots that will somewhat match the quality of the C200. So who is this camera for? This camera is for anybody. If you're just getting into it, this is a good starter camera. It's a little expensive, it's a little on the high end, so I wouldn't even call it a beginner camera. This is a pro level camera. Now, being a professional doing this for 5+ years, I can honestly say this is a great investment for Canon shooters. It's portable, it's small, it's great as a hybrid camera. So if I went to a small project, photos, videos, I could just use this if I needed to. I could be in and out, no setup time, no peripherals, just this camera and it working. That's one of my biggest things about the camera is it just works. Everything's so similar to the EOS R, but it just fixes all the little things I didn't love. I'm so happy with it. I would 100% recommend this to anybody. It's a great all-around camera. It's a great just travel camera. It's a professional camera. I haven't experienced anything that I don't like about this camera except for the dial being on the opposite sides, which is just a minor thing that I can obviously get used to. I've done live performance filming, I've done in-studio headshots, outdoor headshots, I've done real estate videos, I've done in-studio videos, and I've experienced no overheating or any problems whatsoever. I would 100% recommend this camera, and I think Canon did a great job making the R better than what it was. I don't use the RF glass, but my EF glass works perfectly. I use the adapter and everything's awesome. If you're looking to get a new camera, you're looking to get something that can do everything and not break the bank, you're looking at the Canon EOS R6. It's fantastic and definitely pick one up.